It's time for the Everyday Ag Podcast. And here's your host, Patrick Twining.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it. It's another episode of the Everyday Ag Podcast. Wow, what a day today has been. What a day the last couple weeks have been. But today was fun. If you take out the plummeting temperatures and those horrible winds, today was just a fun day. I started out the morning with my regular chore routine and was nearing the end of those daily chores. I hear a semi out on the road. And I had to walk out to where I could see, and here's a semi with a, what are they called? Lowboy. A trailer that hauls large equipment, backing down the road. They're finally working on the culvert down the road from us that's been closed for, since Thanksgiving. They were taking machinery down there to start demolishing. This is a big, long piece of equipment, and he was going to back all the way down back onto the side road to get turned around. I went out and stopped him, and I told him, I said, hey, pull into the farm drive. We've got plenty of room to get turned around. It's going to be a lot easier than backing up. He'd already backed up 3/8 of a mile down the road. Now, granted, the road's closed. There's no traffic, so he didn't have that to contend with, but he was going to back another, we'll say, 1/8 of a mile to try to back down a county road with deep ditches and get turned around. So I had him pull in the farm drive, and I had stuff in the way. We made it work, got him backed around, pulled out, and he went on down the road and came back with another piece of equipment later in the day. While I was waiting for him to come back, I guess I wasn't really waiting. I told him, when you bring your other load, do the same thing. I'll be here. It's Wednesday. Those are my farm days. I'll keep an eye out for you. So in the meantime, I got some other stuff done, cleaned up a little bit of scrap metal, just trying to do, spring cleaning. It's almost March. We're 2 days away. Went and got pigs, did some other stuff. Tire company from Don Ashland came and fixed not a flat tire on a tractor, but a leaking tire. It's had a slow leak. It's been leaking calcium, which it's what it sounds like. It's fluid that we put in the rear tires of the tractors for weight and traction because, air weighs so much. Calcium does not freeze, and it's not corrosive, so that's what we put in the tires to add weight. So they came and popped the rubber off of the fender, put a new tube in because the valve stem had essentially broke off at the rim. Put that in, put the new tire on. They were on the way. And then in the afternoon, since it was chilly and windy and I didn't really want to do anything else, I worked on tonight's notes. And I have a pile of notes for tonight, but that's why we're here. The weather these last couple weeks has felt more like March. I was getting very excited. And then we've got today. Wake up this morning and it's 62 degrees and it's, 40, I think, by noon, and now it's, 32. I didn't look when I pulled in the driveway here at the radio ranch, but it's cold. And that wind was miserable. That wind was horrible. But March is 2 days away. Happy birthday to any of you people that are leap day babies. My second cousin, Tyler, is a leap day baby. There you go. It's 27 degrees outside right now, so it plummeted substantially today. But anyways, happy birthday if you're a leap day baby and you're going to celebrate your actual birthday tomorrow. What else? So the office at the farm, which is a glorified shed, is taking place. I got my desk put in place there, which is super exciting to me because I like to be organized. And the past year and a half, I've had invoices and paperwork and bills in the milk house and the cow barn, in my truck, at home, everywhere. Now they can be one place, as long as I remember to put them there. But I have a place for them. That's what matters. And Friday, so 5 days ago now, I was afforded the opportunity to haul the last domestic load of calves out of Conrad's Dispersal Sale, which we talked about last show. Finally got them hauled up to Wisconsin. From that sale, from what I've been able to gather from Conrad's themselves and the auctioneers, they had cattle, they had calves and cows that went to New York, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Kentucky, a bunch stayed here in Ohio, and they even have a group of young stock that is actually leaving tomorrow to be staged to go to Vietnam by way of Washington State. They had to quarantine those calves, so keep them away from everybody else. Quarantine them, and then they're leaving tomorrow. I almost got to take that load to Sterling, but they found a bigger trailer that would take all of them in one load, which is fine. So they're going down to Sterling, Ohio, if you know where that's at. They'll be down there until, I guess I don't know, sometime in the next couple days. They'll be hopping on a pot or a big semi where they'll have feed and water and everything to make the 3, 4, 5 day trip, whatever they make it, to Washington State. And from there, they'll hop on a boat and go across the ocean and go to Vietnam. So they sent animals all over the world, essentially. And they did well. They had a buyer from Canada that really wanted to get a load of milk cows out of there, and they all sold so high that he couldn't get any bought. That's the name of the game. That's what happens. So that final voyage, let's dive into that real quick. It took about 10 days to coordinate with bad weather up here, bad weather down there, schedule conflicts between the buyer up there and what I've got going on down here. But when all was said and done, I guess it was Thursday, not Friday. I got back Friday morning. Last Thursday could not have been a better day to haul baby calves. And I mean, they were baby calves. They were a month old, maybe a month and a half at this point. But there couldn't have been a better day. It was a 20-hour drive, which I'm glad I don't need e-logs or anything like that. Well, I probably should have had them, but we're not going to worry about that. So I left the farm at 7 o'clock Friday morning, got up to Conrad's about 7:30, loaded out there, left their farm at 7:50 in the morning, and took off, headed northwest. At, I think it was about 2 o'clock Central Time, remember there's a time change going that way, I met the first buyer who bought 12 calves in Harvard, Illinois, which is 5 miles south of the Illinois-Wisconsin state line. And that in itself was a task, because we couldn't just put him from my trailer to his trailer and away we go. he wanted to get onto my trailer and look at all the calves, inspect the calves, make sure they were healthy, all that good stuff. Then decided that he was going to wait till we got to our rendezvous point to clean his trailer out, which didn't take long, but still, like, come on, guy, I'm on the clock. Let's go. So he cleaned his trailer out, put fresh bedding in. We had to sort them out by size because there was some smaller calves and some larger calves. Then we settled up on, the hauling charge, left that rendezvous point at 2:45 p.m. Mind you, we're talking Central Time. Got to 5:15 to my last stop, dropped that calf off, and headed back home. And got home at 2:45 in the morning, Friday morning. And if my truck would have had a big enough fuel tank to get fuel all the way home, I would not have stopped. But 4.5 hours in, on the way back home, I had to stop and get fuel and then keep on trucking. So, like I said, that was a 20-hour trip, but it was turn and burn and up and back, and took a little nap, and Friday morning I went right back to work. Because, well, that's what we do. Let's take a quick break here, and then we'll get into more fun stuff. So, have you ever heard of the Creamy Delight waiting for you at Carlisle Creamery? Introducing their small herd share program, bringing you the finest raw milk straight from the happiest pasture-raised cows north of Route 20. At Carlisle Creamery, the Hamkers believe in the purity of nature. Their cows graze on lush green pastures, producing milk rich in flavors and nutrients. Join their herd share and experience the goodness of fresh farm raw milk right in your own home. Get to know your producer and their cows personally and see firsthand where this wholesome product is being produced. Become a part of the Carlisle Creamery family today. Look them up on Facebook or email them at carlislecreamery@gmail.com. Taste the difference at Carlisle Creamery, where every sip tells a story of pure, wholesome goodness. And always remember, know your producer. All right, we're going to change gears real quick. So, something I've been wanting to talk to you guys about since pretty much day one is the history of my farming life, my farming background, however you want to say that. So we're in Huntington Township on Griggs Road, and I'm the fourth generation of this farm. We milked cows until, I think it was 2016, 2017. For my dad's 70th birthday, he wanted to be done milking cows. And so that's what we did. I kept all of my cows, my calves, and we liquidated Dad's herd, essentially. All of my cows for a little bit then went to a friend's house, friend's farm, where he milked them for me. I brought the cows home when they were getting ready to calve, so in their dry-off period, and let the calves be born on the farm. And then the milk cows, when they're ready, would go back over to his place. And then in 22, his son was going off to college, and he wanted to be able to handle everything on his own, more or less. And so I brought the milk cows back to the farm, which worked out well because that was the same point that we were starting to raise pigs. And so that's essentially where Butter Pig Partners was created, is I milk the cows, the pigs drink the milk, and then they make me delicious meat. Going back to the farm itself, we crop farm about 400 acres. beans, corn mainly, and then I try to keep around 30 to 40 acres of hay, and every once in a while we plant wheat in the fall for cover crop, but it really depends on what wheat price is doing as far as if we're going to take that gamble or not, if you will. Into the milking history of it, because that's my passion. That's what I care most about. The crop side of things, I make the hay and everyone else takes care of the crops. Like, you go drive your tractors, go play tractors. I'm going to play farm animals. So the old barn, the original barn, burnt down sometime in the early 50s, and the barn that is there now was built in 56. If you come to the farm, you can still see in the driveway where the old foundation was of the original barn and where the old silo was. That was just an old stanchion barn, and like I said, it burnt down. We built the new barn, and we've discussed the demise and the dilapidation of the current barn, but now that it's empty, the plans are really in the works for what the new roof is going to look like, when it's going to be done, how it's going to be done, all that great stuff. And I'm super excited for this summer to hopefully get that accomplished. That barn in its prime was running about 80 head of cattle through it, of dairy cows through it. And mind you, that's only was that a 58 stall barn? So there was a slight shift change, if you will, of workers, of milk cows, that when some of them were done, they got kicked out and the next group came in. Now we've got fancy-dancy parlors, and they just constantly rotate through. But that wasn't how that worked back then. Over the years, we slowly decreased as my older siblings went off to college, and then as I got into high school and could really do stuff, we picked back up a little bit. At the most, we were milking, I think, 40 head. But that was all my passion of, my 4-H projects and making sure we had the best quality animals, the best quality milk we could ship. And while we had the cows there, we were one of the top type herds in the area, which, there's not many in the area, but still, especially me, I strive to, even now, have the best genetics I can, have the prettiest models, if you will, in my barn, because I like to have animals that are nice to look at, but also the right disposition to work with. I actually had to fire 2 employees, if you will, this week. They were 2 calves that I bought as baby calves and was going to grow up for recipients. So they were going to be surrogate mothers, if you will. And they kept getting out. They were Houdinis. Twice a day, every day, they would find a way to escape and just run amok of the farm. And I finally remembered that I could fire them. They could leave, and I would get money for it. And so Monday, they went to the sale barn, and Tuesday, I got my check. And that helps pay for the hay that I'm still buying until hopefully another 2 months, 2 months roughly, whatever, when we get good grass that I don't have to rely on as much hay. It is what it is, right? We come and go with our employees at work, and that's the same way that we have to treat the farm life as they were causing too much stress. Let's put it that way. And so now they can go find a job somewhere else. While we're at it, let's take a quick break again for our second sponsor, Keller Meats in Litchfield, just north of the Circle on 83. They are your prime destination for all your locally sourced beef, pork, lamb, and goat custom processing, as well as a full retail counter. Go to kellermeats.com or visit them on Facebook for more information. We're going to switch gears again. I have so many notes for today, although we're getting short on time, so we'll maybe get into like phase one of this next topic, and then we'll continue it next episode, next show. I talked briefly earlier about the start of Butter Pig Partners. Pigs used to be on the farm eons ago. I mean, when my dad was little, because that's when you raised all of your own stuff, your own chickens, your own pork, your own beef. And my wife and I are kind of getting back into that because that's important, knowing what you grow, knowing who grew it, knowing the quality, all that good stuff. So the pigs. Em used to raise pigs when she was growing up, and it kind of started as, hey, let's start raising our own pork. We've got barn space. Let's do it. Well, there's a local farrowing operation just a mile north of us as the crow flies. And I told her, I said, hey, I know people. I'll go talk to them. And then we fell into this great deal where we can get pigs every week. And so actually that's my Wednesdays, right? And Wednesday morning, I go and pick up the pigs that were allotted for the week. We get a great deal on them, and so it works. That first year, we raised about 150 of them between roaster pigs and fish dogs, and kept them in the old heifer barn, I call it, which is pretty much just the lean-to of the pole barn. Low ceiling, bad floor, super dark, super cold in the wintertime. It worked, but there was the realization that we needed something better. And then there was the realization that, hey, the old sheep barn, which essentially is just the one end of the pole barn, is full of junk that's on dirt and is rotting. Why don't we put it on the concrete that's good enough concrete to store stuff, but not good enough to work on every day? And so, let's see, I think it was about a year ago in January, I started moving all of that stuff, which was short equipment that, would fit in low ceiling, and metal racks and stuff like that. Moved all that into that old barn, and then started digging out the dirt and sheep manure that had collected for the past 20 years. That way we could pour concrete. And we finally got concrete poured in that barn in, I believe it was June of this past year. And it's been a slow process to get that barn how we need it. Because it was fresh concrete. Old barn, fresh concrete, fresh ideas. Setting up new pens, setting up the nursery, getting the right electrical in there. It's a process. I work on it every week, work on it every day sometimes. But eventually, that'll be the Taj Mahal, if you will, of our farm. Rome wasn't built in a day, neither is this barn. But we're going to get to that. We'll work on it. We'll get there eventually, and it'll be what we want. It'll work for us, and it'll suffice. Last year we had a lot of death loss before getting onto that new pad of concrete, just with the cold weather and everything, and kind of trying to work through what we had. And so we didn't have as great of a year last year growing pigs, but this year's looking up, and it's getting better day by day. And so, like I said, they're goals, right? Every day is something to look forward to. And what's the project going to be today? You can talk to anyone that knows me. I cannot sit idle. And so there's always something going through my head of, oh, we're going to do this today. And then 14 other things later, I get back to that project again. But like I said, we'll finish talking about that next show. Because, boy, there's a whole laundry list of stuff there that we can talk about. So as we wrap up the show, I want to remind you guys about our Facebook page, the Butter Pig Partners Facebook page. Go ahead and find us, like us, follow us there. Keep up to date with everything that's going on. The Everyday Ag Podcast YouTube channel, where you can find all of these episodes, whether you've missed one or you want to go back and listen again. They're all posted there roughly within a week of the live time. And don't forget about also our clothing line, merchandise line, craftydawnboutique.com. And like I said, I think the best way is just going to the search icon, typing in Everyday Ag Podcast. You can find our men's and women's tees, our sweatshirts, the koozies. That's what we've got for now. It may grow. We may keep it as it is, but cool merchandise. All those proceeds go to Dawn for helping me out and putting this together and doing all of the work, and the rest go right back to this podcast to make it better and improve content and all that good stuff that the behind-the-scenes work of putting this on for you guys. If you have questions, you can always go and comment on the YouTube channel if you've got questions, or you can always send an email to butterpigpartners@gmail.com, or send me a message at the Facebook page, and we'll get to you as soon as we can as far as questions, ideas, whatever you have, whatever's on your mind. And I'm still looking for a couple podcast sponsors, so if you'd like to have your business highlighted and blasted to the world on this podcast, let's talk about that too. That's all helping you and helping me, and again, that's what this show is about, is the grassroots community of agriculture, what we can do to make it better, and getting the word out to the general public. I found out tonight that I have a listener that loves listening that's never even had the background, of me or what's going on, and I appreciate that. I appreciate hearing that. Appreciate all you guys, and stay warm. Sunshine now as we're getting closer into spring, and I think we've got 15 days until 8 p.m. sunsets. Until next time, stay safe, stay warm, stay on the right side of the dirt. Take care, everybody.
The proceeding was a paid informational program. The views and opinions expressed were not necessarily those of the staff, management, or advertisers of WOBL Radio.
WOBL Oberlin and WOBL Radio.